Okay.
Believe it or not, Halo Infinite still exists. This game has had a very rocky journey over the years, to say the least. Most people know it as the Halo game that came out in 2021 that was really hype, but had no content and no updates, so they left it really quickly. And to all the people that did leave Infinite during Season 1 and just never came back, that's fair enough. The launch state of this game, regardless of what I think of the game in its present state, was absolutely miserable. And we had to wait for the better part of a year for the game to actually start improving in meaningful ways. So people who abandoned this game and never came back to it, I do not blame you at all. However, I think in its present state, this game is dope as hell. And the people who abandoned it when it first came out would benefit from giving it another try. I wanted to make this video for two primary reasons. Number one, to be an outlet for stuff I like about this game, both old and new. Number two, I want to showcase the stuff that's been added to the game since the first season, and talk about how that's improved the quality of the game. So straight off the bat, I just want to say that this game's core gameplay is still excellent. This is the best feeling Halo since Halo 3 in my opinion. The gunplay is a particular standout for me. All of the guns feel incredibly satisfying to use because of the great animations and sound direction. A particular standout for me is the Bandit, which just feels so good. This game has one of my favorite weapon sandboxes in the Halo franchise, hands down. A big issue with Halo's 2 through 5's weapon sandboxes is that there's so many redundant weapons. In Halo 2, for example, where the problem started, you had the human sniper rifle, and then you had the Covenant sniper rifle, which does literally the exact same thing, but it has a beam instead of a bullet. And then skip over to Halo 5 and you can see how bad the problem of redundant weapons got when you look at the rocket launchers. You've got the new UNSC Nerf gun looking rocket launcher, the classic rocket launcher which is functionally the same, the Covenant fuel rod gun which is literally just the rocket launcher that has a slight curve to it, the incineration cannon, which granted is more differentiated from the rocket launcher than it was in Halo 4, but it's still a pretty negligible difference if I'm being honest with you. They're functionally the same thing. You shoot and it does an explosion. We do not need 4 different rocket launcher type weapons, and that's what I like about Infinite. It harkens back to the way Combat Evolved's weapon sandbox was designed in the sense that every weapon has a clear, unique purpose. You know, this is the rocket launcher, this is the sniper rifle, this is the skewer, and these are all weapons that have their own unique role in the sandbox, not being replaced by weapons that are basically just reskins of them. Rather than wasting a bunch of time making a bunch of redundant weapons that all look really cool but functionally do the exact same thing, every weapon in Infinite feels like it has a distinct purpose. You've got your all-rounder assault rifle, sidekick pistol to frantically switch to after you run out of AR ammo, to finish off kills. The battle rifle is a 3-shot burst ranged weapon. Comparatively, the Bandit is also a ranged weapon, but it specializes in single fire shots rather than burst. The Commando is very similar to the Bandit in that sense, but is different due to the faster fire rate. Meaning, as opposed to the Bandit, which is great to be a primary weapon, the Commando is best used as a support weapon at mid-ranges, although I do wish that gun would receive a buff. The Ravager is an area denial weapon. That charged up shot can be used to coat the floor in flames, causing the enemy to take damage when they enter the area. Great for zone capture modes like King of the Hill. I would list off every weapon in Halo Infinite and explain its roles in the sandbox, but I think I've already made my point about this game's weapon design. It's very utility driven as opposed to just putting in as many guns that perform similarly as possible. And I think that's dope. My only complaint with Infinite Sandbox is there is no equivalent to the classic shotgun in this game. The Bulldog is good and it has a good role in the sandbox, but it is not a replacement for the classic shotgun from the first 5 Halos. I really like the ability to pick up and throw fusion coils. For a while, the only way Halo would try to innovate its gameplay loop would be by giving the player these internal abilities and advantages. For example, in Halo 5, you have unlimited thruster pack and you can ground pound and jump around and stuff. In Halo Reach, you can spawn armor lock out of thin air and have a jetpack on you at all times. Comparatively, all of Infinite's innovations are sandbox and external driven. And a great example of this is the player's ability to interact with fusion coils. Before, these were just static explosive barrels you'd shoot. Now they're interactable sandbox objects you can pick up and throw. You can now live out your dreams of being Donkey Kong in Halo, throwing explosive barrels at the stupid plumbers trying to stop you. This is a wonderful sandbox-driven innovation to Halo's gameplay loop, and I think represents Infinite's gameplay design as a whole really well. Infinite's renewed focus on Halo's sandbox and making sure every single item has its own unique utility within it has cemented it as one of my favorite Halo gameplay experiences ever. Just, oh my god, please just put the classic shotgun in. This game is literally screaming and begging to have the classic shotgun in it free for free. Please just bite the bullet and put it in the game. This is one of the most consumer-friendly live service free-to-play shooters out there at the minute. And as someone who's been on record saying I hate the free-to-play Fortnite Battle Pass model, I think that's pretty high praise. Something I like about Halo Infinite is that there is minimal FOMO. Fear of missing out was a manipulation tactic that a lot of these live service games use in order to encourage people to waste money, whether it be on cosmetics or skipping the progression system in a game. When you dangle a timer over someone where the consequence is that item will be gone forever, they're a lot less likely to actually think through their purchase and make an informed decision. Whereas most items that have been in the item shop in Halo Infinite are buyable always. When an item rotates out of the item shop, 9 times out of 10, you can still find it in your locker available for purchase. Now, this isn't the case for all items, and there's definitely still work to be done before I can say this game is completely free of FOMO. But Halo Infinite is still leaps and bounds ahead of its competition in this way. Another great example of this is the Battle Pass switcher. Now, I understand this might be a hard concept for fans of games like Fortnite to wrap their heads around, but in Halo Infinite, after a season finishes, its Battle Pass isn't completely thrown in the trash forever. Once a season finishes, if you have already bought the Battle Pass for that season, it will never expire, and you can complete it at your own pace. No artificial pressure in order to make you buy XP. You just buy the Battle Pass, you have it, and you can complete it whenever you feel like. Also, if you missed a season, you can go back at any time and buy that Battle Pass. How every live service game hasn't adopted this business model is beyond me, because it is so much better for the consumer than games like Fortnite. This isn't to say Infinite's execution of the free-to-play model is flawless. I think Infinite would be a much better game if it was a $60 game with no microtransactions. And I feel like some of the items in the store are incredibly overpriced. But despite all of that, I still feel that Infinite does this free-to-play business model better and in a more consumer-friendly way than most of its competition. To the point now where the Battle Passes are just free. Infinite recently shifted away from doing seasonal 100 tier paid Battle Passes and has now shifted to releasing a free 20-tier Operation Battle Pass every 6 weeks. Granted, if you haven't completed the Operation Pass by the time the 6-week period ends, you do have to pay 500 Halo credits to be able to progress through it, but these Operation Passes are so easy to complete within the time frame. This isn't a Fortnite kind of deal where you have to sell your soul to the Epic Games devil and grind away at those stupid challenges. With Halo Infinite, you'll get that whole Operation Pass done in like 1 or 2 play sessions. And if you still miss it, then you can pay for access to that pass and a bonus item for under £4. It's really not the end of the world if you're not able to complete the operation in time. And for those who are active on the game, you get battle passes and new things to progress through free of charge, which in a free-to-play game is a very hard thing to complain about in my opinion. But for those who want to progress through the game in the long haul, Free for Free finally added a progression system. You can make the argument that most all of the cool stuff they've added to this game since launch is stuff that should have been there since launch. And it's not like you'd be wrong, but I don't care really, I'm just happy to have it. This is a long and meaty progression system that I've been working through since June of 2023, and still haven't finished. It very smartly uses the points you gain for doing things within matches, such as landing kills or working towards objectives, as XP to level up your career rank. And whilst I wish it had more rewards scattered throughout the progression track, the end of the system makes it all worth it for me. When you reach the max rank of Halo Infinite's progression system, you unlock Master Chief's armor in the multiplayer. Before this was added, I wanted this beautiful armor set from Halo Infinite's campaign in the multiplayer for so long. So finding out that it was the reward for max rank in Halo Infinite's new progression system was just so good to me. I'm still grinding away to get this armor set, but I am very happy to be. I think grinding Halo Infinite's progression system is a lot of fun, and the reward is more than enough of a prize for doing so. But on the topic of customization, how is that nowadays? We've already established that there's plenty of opportunities for players to unlock armor for free now, with those operation passes, but even beyond that, the weekly challenges are good for that as well. But just in terms of the customization, how are things? Well, unfortunately, we still have the coating system. I've made peace with the existence of the coating system, and personally, it's not enough to detract from Infinite's customization for me. But god, I really hope we go back to the classic armor coloring system in the next game. Beyond that though, the restrictions between armor cores have mostly been knocked down. At the launch of the game, you had different armor cores. You had a Halo Infinite armor core, you had the armor core for the armor from Halo Reach, a Samurai one, etc. But the problem was, the armor pieces for those individual cores were locked to it. So for example, you can't have a Samurai helmet on your Reach armor. Or if you have a really cool color on your Halo Infinite Mark 7 armor, you ain't getting that on your Reach armor. This was an incredibly boneheaded decision when it came to designing Halo Infinite's customization, and was especially greedy given they were using the core limitations to sell the same color multiple times for different armor cores. This has been mostly fixed. Helmets and shoulder pads are now universally compatible across every armor core, and a good chunk of the game's armor coatings are now cross-core. But back to unlocking content for a second. I mentioned that I've still been grinding away at finishing Halo Infinite's progression system, and one of my favorite ways of grinding Halo Infinite's progression is Firefight. Firefight is one of the most fan-favorite Halo modes, and in my opinion should be in every Halo game day one. Firefight is an arcadey PvE experience where you and 4 other people will group up and fight banished AI enemies. And this is so fun, man. One of the best things of Halo Infinite's campaign was the incredible AI combat loop. The banished AI enemies in the campaign were so well designed and so fun to fight, and all of that amazing stuff has now been carried over to Halo Infinite's multiplayer suite via Firefight. And god, I love it. I could play this mode for hours. I have played this mode for hours. Something I'd love to see for it are some original maps though. Halo Infinite's Firefight has a bunch of maps and plenty of variety, but a lot of them are just multiplayer maps. Which is fine, they play wonderfully in Firefight and there's plenty of visual variety in this playlist when it comes to maps, but I would really love to see some maps designed especially for this Firefight playlist. Which wouldn't be too hard to do because Halo Infinite's Forge is absolutely spectacular. Well, I'm not going to sit here and act like forging maps is easy because that's not true, but it's considerably easier than making a dev-made map. You see this map here? Or how about this one here? Or this one perhaps? Ooh, how about this one? Yeah, they're all user-generated. All of these maps were made in Halo Infinite's level builder, Forge, by Halo fans. Which is crazy to think about because they look amazing. Some even look as good as the maps in this game made by 343 developers using the developer tools. They are so good to the point where so much of Halo Infinite's new content nowadays is Forge maps that have been submitted into matchmaking by fans and are so well made to where most Halo fans are completely okay with that. We have come a really long way since the ugly grey box Forge maps from Halo Reach, man. The power of the Forge tool in Halo Infinite has allowed for so much more content to be added to this game. In modern Halo Infinite, you'll just wake up randomly one day and go like, oh, 5 new maps just randomly got added to Big Team Battle. That's the kind of additions that Halo Infinite's incredible Forge tool allow for. The maps are so abundant nowadays that some of my friends I play Halo with complain that there are too many maps. Which I personally think is a really good problem to have, especially when all of these maps are really well designed, but each to their own, I guess. In the past 2 operations updates, 343 has dropped some Forge maps made by 343 developers into the game. These maps are called Illusion and Elevation. And I say this with no exaggeration, these are some of my favorite Halo maps of all time. And the reason I like them so much is that they have really unique gimmicks that set them apart. Illusion, for example, has a central corridor where everyone who walks in it will turn invisible, with infinite active camo as long as they remain in that corridor. This injected an absolutely huge bit of variety into Halo Infinite's map pool, and I love it so much. But what I love even more than Illusion is Elevation, a map that takes place on a space station that I think is situated on top of a space elevator. As far as I know, this is the map that utilizes low gravity the most across any Halo game. Do you remember that one map in Halo Reach where when you went on the roof of it, you had low gravity for a bit? This is a whole map centered around that mechanic, and it is awesome. This map plays wonderfully with Halo Infinite's equipment, with a particular standout being the repulsor on this map. These are 2 absolute banger Halo maps, and I love them so much. The map pool in this game, both of old and new maps, I think is really good. I still think Halo Infinite's campaign is great. I have my issues with it. I think it severely lacks set pieces and location variety, but the combat loop is great and the story is really good. I plan on making a more in-depth video someday about Halo Infinite's campaign, but for the time being, I think it's good. It's got the Crofty seal of approval. Halo Infinite is a game I play an absolute crap ton of. Despite the incredibly rocky road we had to go on to get to the state the game is in now, I have a huge soft spot for this game. It went from being an incredibly well-designed Halo experience bogged down by a crippling lack of content, in turn making it one of the worst Halo games, into being one of my favorite Halo games ever, which great gameplay loop was finally able to shine due to the massive breadth of content the game has to offer. So, if you've never played Halo Infinite before, or tried it during the Season 1 era and felt burned by it and never picked it up again, just give it another shot. The game is free, you lose nothing from giving it another look, because I really mess with this game, and if you like Halo or just shooters in general, I think you'd really mess with it too. As always, thank you so much for watching this video all the way through, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.